Welcome to There's a Method to the Madness. My name is Maxwell. I'm an exercise physiologist and personal trainer. I'm the owner of Maxwell's fitness programs, and I've been in business since 1994. The purpose of this podcast is to get to the real deal of what really works, and most importantly, why it works. Hence the name, There is a Method to the Madness. Before we get to today's topic, I want to thank our sponsors, Jonathan and Lynn Gilden of the Gilden Group at Realty Pros. They are committed to providing the highest level of customer service in home sales, and they have the reviews and the sales to back that up. So give them a shout, 386-451-2412. How's everybody out there in the old fitness world today? The old betterment world today, the wellness world today. See, I'm making assumptions because you're actually listening to this podcast. So if you're listening to this podcast, you really do want to become more physically fit. You want to become more well. You want to better yourself, as I do. And I really think that's an awesome thing. So let's talk about a topic today that I believe will help you better yourself. Overload. Now, I talk about overload quite frequently, but I'm going to give you another way to overload today. So if you forgot and you haven't done your homework and studied what overload is, just remember it's doing more than you've done before. It's creating a stress that is greater than you've stressed yourself with before. Now, I think we all know that too much stress is not a good thing, but too little stress is not a good thing either. Without enough stress, we're not going to grow. And we want to grow. We want to get better. They say if you're not living, you're dying, right? So we want to be always trying to push better in certain areas of our lives, probably most areas. So that's really all overload is. It's creating stress. It's incrementally increasing the stress that you are in control of. Now, common ways that we can overload in the exercise world. First, let's look at strength. I think the most obvious and the most common one is increasing load, so making what we're doing heavier. Another way is to increase the repetitions, and as long as we're using the same load that we've used previously, then that's overloading. It could be doing an additional set. It could be decreasing the rest time. It could be speeding up the movement, or this will be confusing, slowing it down. If you go from one to the other and you're doing it purposely, that can be a form of overload. But there's another one, and that's the one we're going to stay on today, that I don't think enough people take advantage of. And that is doing what we're currently doing better. Too often, I think, in all of our lives, we get too busy trying to do more, and we become just a little bit too numbers driven. Numbers matter. There's always that balance between qualitative and quantitative, as I've spoken about before. So there is always kind of a tension there. Like, we don't want to so not think about numbers that we're never striving to do more goal-oriented, so to say. But we can absolutely get too carried away with it, where we start to forget about the qualitative measures, and that would be how it feels and our form and things like that. So it really depends on where you're at on that, but I think it helps all of us to think about, what if we take some time, maybe this week, and again, just depending on where you're at in your training cycle, but take some time to learn to do things better, to focus on doing it better. So for example, let's say you do a goblet squat, and you typically do 12 repetitions with a 30-pound dumbbell. So, that's good. That's a good load for man or woman. That is a good load for big or small. Like that, that's good. I mean, that's a pretty fit number right there. So let's just say it's that. What if you took the time to say, I'm going to do this better. I'm really going to practice form today. So rather than thinking about doing a couple more reps, which in many cases can be fine, or increasing load, which again, in many cases can be fine, why don't we think about how can I do this better? And again, this is just a tool to put in your toolbox when to use it. There are times when I go, man, I'm feeling a little run down. I'm feeling like I'm getting a little ahead of myself on some exercises. I'm going to take the time to really focus on doing this better. So what would that look like on that example I just gave? Well, maybe holding that weight a little more firmly. Oftentimes, I'll tell people to hold it right under their chin, and they do, but sometimes they get a little sloppy how they're holding it. One wrist might be higher than the other. Is that a big deal? Absolutely not. But we can work on things like that. And most importantly, when we lower down on the squat, maybe we think, I know I can do this. I know I can do 12 reps, but I'm going to go even slower today because I know I can do this. And the whole time I'm going down, I'm going to keep my chest up, my spine up, and I'm going to really keep a great posture. And when I get to the bottom, I'm going to strike a pose, so to say, like I'm going to hold this. And then I'm going to come up under control and I'm going to repeat that. So with every exercise, tell yourself, I'm not going to increase the load or the reps. I'm going to do this better. That would be a form of overload. And I think for many people, not everybody, many people, that would be a great form of overload because not everybody has great form. I would say not everybody even has good form. I preach it here all the time. I say form is everything, but it doesn't mean you can get everybody to buy into it and do that. And it also doesn't mean that people don't have distracted days where they're better than other days. I mean, some days people just kind of want to get through it and there'll be like 1,000,001 reminders to work on certain aspects of their form. Maybe it's slow down, maybe it's speed up, maybe it's pause, whatever it is for them, because everybody's a little different. And, they're just focused on getting through it. Even with the reminders, their form isn't great or ideal. I mean, that's just, it's human nature. And again, that's not necessarily like a bad thing if we become a little numbers driven at times, but we definitely don't want our form to ever go. Like form always has to come first on things. But anyway, getting back to the case in point, sometimes there's that, but then there's also the cases where people just don't know and they come into a workout and I'll do it. I don't do it as much though, to be fair and honest, because I know this and like working out for me, as I've said before, is my meditation time. So I do a lot of training like that. I'll tell myself, today's not going to be a day that I push through a barrier. I'm going to do this better. Let's take step ups for me. So on the short step, the 12-inch step, 16-inch step, I think it is. Because of injuries in the past, my right leg on that particular exercise is deficient. It's behind my left leg, which is kind of weird because on stationary lunges, my left leg is actually behind my right leg in deficiency. So who the heck knows? But anyway, I work on both with this in mind. So like today, for example, I said, I'm going to just really work on making sure that I'm doing everything in my power on this right leg to make sure that my knee is staying in alignment with my ankle, that my knee is staying behind my toes as I push up, that I'm pushing through the heel, that I'm maintaining good balance through the entire exercise, the entire repetition. So I really focus on just doing it better. And oftentimes we just forget to do that. I don't so much because, again, I really use working out as my meditation. So I'm always kind of like very intrinsically involved in it. Personally, that's just how I like to do it. And I think if you've come from, say, bodybuilding backgrounds like I have, you tend to do it more. I think when you come from yoga backgrounds, you tend to do that more. I think when you come from gymnastics backgrounds, you tend to do that more. I think if you come from more like working out mindsets as far as the gym goes, like powerlifting or working out for sports, you kind of do it more extrinsically because not always, but oftentimes it's like the extra that a lot of athletes don't want to have to do. So they're already playing football and now they have to go to the weight room, so to say. The coach makes them. And so they kind of just check their boxes. So I think it comes from that. But I also think that some people just flat out don't know and they don't know to do that. But anyway, so let's try that this week. This is your big tip for the week. Take some time and just tell yourself, today I'm going to do what I'm doing better. I'm not going to go up on reps. I'm not going to go up on load. I'm not going to increase set or increase exercises. I'm going to do what I currently do better, because that is a form of overload. I mean, think about it. The method to the madness tells you the science. So if you're doing it better, then you are overloading because now you're engaging more of the correct muscle groups. And also there's studies that show that if you pay attention to mind to muscle, you get 20% more activation. So you are getting that versus if you mindlessly go through it and you're not really thinking about if other muscle groups or synergistic muscle groups are taking over too much. When you really focus on doing it better, you eliminate that possibility. All right? So let's give that a try. And I do want to say to please listen and tune in tomorrow because I'm going to be interviewing Emily Blake, who's a former student of mine. And I was going to say studios because she opened up a place in New Smyrna called NSB Studios, and it's yoga and adult fitness classes. It's just sounds like a really, really great mini spa down there in New Smyrna. So I'm really happy to interview her and she can tell you all about it. So tune in. Please download. Please share these episodes. It helps me get my numbers up and that helps all of us. All right. Until next time, be Max Fit and be Maxwell. Now, I would like to thank our other sponsors, Overhead Door of Daytona Beach, the area's best garage door company. They have the best product and the best service. Please check out Jeff and Zach Hawk's Overhead Door of Daytona Beach at overheaddoordaytona.com. The garage doors go up and they go down.